Let's see. Oh, do I want to start the recording? No. Hi there, I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar discussing your move over to the Oakland campus and the accommodations and supports that will be available to you. My name is Courtney Gutierrez. I am the Associate Director for Student Access and Support Services, which we also call as SASS for short. We are located in Sage Hall. We'll talk more about that within the webinar. And we're really excited to have you all come over and join us from the London campus. And we're excited to share what our resources are on campus for you. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of start, and if anybody pops on, then we can answer any questions that you might have or fill in the blanks later. So what we're going to go over is I'm going to introduce the team. We have a small but mighty team here. We're going to talk about the DRC mission and purpose. So the reason why I say the DRC mission and purpose is because we share the same mission and purpose as the Disability Resource Center on the Boston campus. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the difference is between the DRC and SASS here on the Oakland campus, how to connect with us, any documentation, and what your intake meeting will look like, requesting your professor notification letters, so the letters that you'll send out to your professors to let them know of your accommodations. The SASS Testing Center, that will be a really great resource or important resource for you all, especially with testing accommodations. A little bit of information about housing and dining in Oakland, especially on the campus, other campus resources, and contact information. So our team consists of me as the Associate Director, and then Araceli Hernandez, who is the SASS coordinator. So Araceli supports a lot with the intake meetings and those initial conversations, and then we connect and discuss what supports are available to you all and what would be reasonable accommodations. You'll see the both of us in and out of the testing center and supporting there. We also have a team of student workers who support in the testing center. And then I also support with any on-campus learning experiences, or I also advise some of the clubs on campus as well. So the mission and purpose, so I switched out the DRC name within the mission, but it is still the same. I'm going to read it just so that it's clear. So Student Access and Support Services, or SASS for short, serves Northeastern students on the Oakland campus who have documented disabilities as defined by the Americans with Disability Act as amended ADAA of 2008. Under this definition, a person with a disability is one with a physical, mental, emotional, or chronic health impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. So we want to make sure that our students have equal access to academic and student life experiences while at Northeastern. And we do follow federal law regarding disability and privacy. And so we do want to maintain those rights for our students and make sure that there's no discrimination experiences happening. So the difference between the Northeastern University's DRC, or the Disability Resource Center, and SASS. So what are the real differences? Nothing really. SASS is in Oakland. We offer the same services. We don't, and I'll take that back. So one thing that I think is coming up a lot too is that the Oakland campus or the Boston campus has what's known as the Learning Disability Program, or LDP. And that is in relation to the DRC, but it's not under the DRC. And we don't have that here on the Oakland campus, but we do meet with students and support you in somewhat of a case management mode. So supporting you through any type of questions, or supporting you with connecting to professors, or having more of that hands-on approach as you might have an LDP program, but we don't follow a curriculum. Other than that, everything within SASS and the DRC is pretty much parallel to each other. We communicate with each other frequently. We work together on our policies and procedures, and then we also consult with each other in case anything comes up, and then get ready for when our students go between the campuses. And so if you are approved for accommodations here on the Oakland campus, then those stay with you if you return to the Boston campus. So any general questions that you might have about your accommodations or anything that has to do potentially with the Oakland campus, you can reach out to Oakland Access at northeastern.edu. If it's based on access and disability supports, obviously we are the office to support you in that. However, if not, we can also try our best to connect you with other departments if necessary. We also support walk-ins if we are available, but we really encourage you to schedule time with us once you're here on campus or even virtually before you come to campus. And you can do that by emailing oaklandaccess@northeastern.edu. And then from there, we can connect with our schedules and see what works for the both of us. So requesting accommodations. So as of now, we should have your documentation in our database, but if there's anything that you are needing to update or you are looking at different types of accommodations, that's when we would probably ask for new documentation or updated documentation. And from there, you can send that to oaklandaccess@northeastern.edu. If you do send it to the DRC documentation email address, that's fine. It just takes a little bit longer to get to us. So I highly, highly encourage you to send all documentation directly to our office at oaklandaccess@northeastern.edu. Um, Another thing I would say though too is that I do want to talk a little bit about what the process is to request accommodations, just in case you are wanting to update your accommodations or you're needing more support. You still, in some ways, do have to go through the same process. So you'll want to visit the DRC website. So we do share all of the documentation as the DRC does. You'll want to complete the student disclosure form. So anytime you want to update or discuss new accommodations, you'll want to provide a new student documentation form with that information. And then you'll submit the disability specific documentation, which you can find on the DRC website, and send it directly to Oakland Access at northeastern.edu. From there, we'll reach out. We'll do an intake meeting with you, which is going to be where we're going to talk to you about what your needs are, what barriers you're experiencing, what has worked in the past, what hasn't, really wanting to get to know you and your experience. We really do want to do a very individual assessment of what you're requesting. And then from there, we will take it to the review committee and we'll discuss it and find what we believe is the most reasonable accommodation for you. Keep in mind, though, that the process can take up to 2 to 3 weeks. And so I say that because we don't want it to be where you're asking for accommodations the day before an exam, especially if we don't have the documentation to support it. So you want to think ahead and think about what supports you might need so that we have the time to get everything that you need to be able to support you in the best way possible. Um, and so once we have all of that information and we have come to an approval or a recommendation for your accommodation, what we will do is we'll send another email to discuss your student service agreement or your SSA, and they'll talk more about that in one of the upcoming slides. So again, a little bit more about the intake meeting. We really want to talk to you about what your needs are. Having that one-on-one conversation too is really important for us, not only to get to know what your needs are, but so you can get to know us. We want you to get to know our team, to let you know that we are here to support you, where we're located. So most of our meetings will be in person unless there is a specific need for it to be virtual, but we do try to have all of our meetings in person. We believe that having that one-on-one in-person meeting is really important for building rapport and relationship, and it's just really great to kind of build that community as well. So once you are approved for accommodations, and so all students coming from the London campus to the Oakland campus will have to have an SSA meeting or that intake registration meeting. And so what you'll do is we'll go through your approved accommodations with you, what the expectations are for you as the student with those accommodations, what the limitations are, and then how to discuss that with your professor when that conversation does come up. And then you'll have to sign off on that form. We cannot release your accommodations until that form is signed. And so once we have that, then we'll be able to put it in our system, and then you'll be able to send out a professor notification letter to your professors to let them know that you have approved accommodations. So in order to do that, the professor notification letter, it's important to know what that is. And so it's essentially a letter that shares with your professors what your accommodations are and that you are a student that's registered with our office. The letter will say the DRC on it, but again, the DRC and SASS are essentially the same, except SASS is the department that works with you on the Oakland campus. You do have to go through a process in order to send out the letters, which um, I share in the next slide. And then once that's sent out, then your professor has the information needed to support you in those accommodations. It is, though, still your responsibility to connect with your professors to discuss how that accommodation will play um, into their class. So say if you have an accommodation for extra time for exams, you'll want to discuss with your professors early on, like what that means, especially if they have um, weekly quizzes and if you need that extra time for those weekly quizzes and how you can work with us to have them in the testing center, which I'll also talk in a later slide that we have available to you. And then that way, everybody's on the same page and knows how to best support you. And you can put that information out there for your professor as well. All of your diagnoses and that private information will stay confidential. That is not shared with your professor, and that stays within our department. And you do not have to disclose that to your professors at all. And I think that's really important too to think about in case that conversation does come up, so that you can loop us back into that conversation so we can support you through that. So to access your professor notification letter, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the DRC portal. We have the QR code here that you can go ahead and scan. You're going to click on the access your portal. So the DRC portal is going to be on the DRC page under registered students. Click on access your DRC portal. And then from there, you're going to see the drop-down list of the main forms that you're able to access, and you're going to click professor notification letters. From there, you're going to see a list of your current classes, and then you'll select the course that you would like your professor notification letter. We call them P&Ls for short. And then you'll click next. You do have to do it for each class, so you have to go through the whole process one by one. But once you get those all sent out, then they will be sent out for you to your professor through their email. This is an example of a professor notification letter. It does share what the letter means, and then it does share what your approved accommodations are. If professors have any questions about them, they can reach out to us, and we can share a little bit more about what those accommodations mean. But again, it is your responsibility to connect with them so that there is more of that individual conversation about what that looks like for you in their class. And then you can also come up with a game plan for each class. So now the SASS Testing Center. So the SASS Testing Center is located in Sage Hall, room 118. That is going to be across from Mills Hall. It will make more sense once you're here on campus. We do have a sign out front that says Testing Center this way, so it's easy to find. The Testing Center is available to students who are registered with SASS or the DRC, who have extended exam times or other exam accommodations. You will have to make a reservation through the DRC portal, so going through to the same page that you would the P&Ls, except there's another drop down for room reservations. And then you'll put in information about what your exam, which class you're taking the exam for, how long it's going to be. I'll show that in the next slide. And we do ask for 2 full business days in advance for you to make those room reservations, because that allows us and your professor enough time to get that exam and all the information over to the testing center to best support you and proctor your exam. Another thing to think about is that the testing center is also available to SAS students for studying. If you need a private room to study in, and we have the space available, you're more than welcome to make a room reservation for that as well. I'm going to go back again. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, so here we are. So I also want to make a point of what our hours are for the SAS Testing Center. We're open from 8 to 7 Monday through Thursday, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sometimes if exams go over those hours, we will reach out to you and reach out to your professor to see if there's another time that you can take the exam to make sure that we have somebody available to support you in that exam time. So again, to make that room reservation, you're going to go to the DRC portal. So I gave you the QR code again. You're going to go to that drop-down list and go to room reservations. You're going to click the course that you're going to take the exam in, and then you'll say add new reservation to that. You'll select the purpose of the room, so study or exam. So if it's an exam, make sure you're putting exam. And then you're going to put the amount of time. So you're going to want to think about what your extra time is, and you're going to calculate that. We do have supports in that, and I can share that with you as well. We do use an online calculator to support students, or we provide that to students so that they can calculate their time, but you'll want to put that in. If you make a miscalculation, that's totally fine. We always double check it, and so we can support you in updating that time, and we'll let you know. If it's a reoccurring exam, you can put the reoccurring dates in there as well, excuse me, so that you can already put that exam date in, and then you don't have to worry about making the room reservation again. A tip I will suggest to you all is the beginning of the semester when you get your syllabi, check when the exams are, if they are listed, and just put your reservation in. If there's a change or you need to update it, you can always let us know, but it's always best to just put it in so you don't have to worry about it later down the line when everything's coming at you at once. And so then that would just be a way of just kind of taking another stressor off your plate. Again, 2 full business days advance for those exam reservations. It is also because we want to make sure that we have the staffing available, and in case there are a lot of exams, we want to make sure that we have the time or the ability to plan for that overflow. So if you don't put your reservation in time, and if we are at capacity, there's a potential that we cannot support or accommodate your exam at that time. And so we would have to reach out to your professor to think of what would be next. But it's best to put it in those 2 full business days in advance. So for an example, if you have an exam on Friday, you're going to want to put your room reservation in by Tuesday of that week. If you want to put, or if you have an exam on Monday, you're going to want to put your room reservation in by Wednesday that week, the week before. And then if you have a room reservation on Sunday, you wouldn't put it any other day because we're only open Monday through Friday. So, and I don't think you would have an exam on Sunday, hopefully. Housing and dining in Oakland. So we have a variety of housing options on campus. We are all on campus, and so we do have hills. Our campus is kind of like in a valley situation, I would say. So if you are in need of supports around that, please connect with us about that. We have area coordinators and RAs. I have a typo. Sorry, shouldn't be resident directors. Should be area coordinators and resident assistants that are available to support you in case of any conflicts come up, or if you're in need of support in your transition on the campus. And then all first years are also connected to our dining hall. I again apologize for the typo in this. I thought I updated it, but our dining hall is Founders Hall, which I have a picture of. We have the Delicious Without stations within Founders Hall, or Founders Dining. And then in case you have any questions, we do connect with the same dietitian, Gabby Cabacab, on for any supports around dietary restrictions, allergies, or any other supports, and they can work alongside the dining services here on campus to support you through that as well. Some additional campus resources are CAPS, which is our counseling and psychological services. We have 2 licensed therapists and trainees on campus that can support you in weekly therapy sessions. They also support in the case of needing accommodation support, so can provide some documentation around that. We have the care team, which is the support team of campus partners that come together to support students of concern, or just finding resources that can best support students. And that's led by our care managers, which are right down the hall from us here in Sage Hall. We also have the housing residential life support team on campus, and their office is right next door to us as well in Sage Hall. The tutoring writing center is available for any supports around wanting to build your note-taking skills, wanting to build your study skills, needing supports around writing essays or editing, anything like that, they're available and they're in the building right next to us. So we're very close together. And then we have the Center for Leadership and Excellence, which is in the main part of campus, which is where you'll find much of the student orgs and leadership opportunities on campus. So I believe that is all that I have for you. Here's some contact information if you are wanting to connect with us. Again, we're located in Sage Hall, room 118. You can email us at oaklandaccess@northeastern.edu. Our phone number is 510-430-2130. And then for access specific needs outside of the testing center, our operating hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But then again, our testing center is open earlier and later. We also have an Instagram, so check us out. You can follow us. We do put updates there and just share different events that are happening on campus there as well. So I would like to open it up for any questions at this point. And if there's not any questions at this point, that's totally fine too. You can always, I'll put those that contact information up again. If you have any questions that do come up, more than happy to answer them through email. I know that there's a lot happening, and so I'm one of those people that I don't remember what I wanted to ask until like 6 hours later. So if that's you, totally get it. Email us at oaklandaccess@northeastern.edu, and we will get back to you with that information. But thank you so much.